As many of you likely know, because I never fail to mention it, I now write a column in the Democrat Gazette. And I encourage particularly young people to read newspapers. It's sort of a dying art, but it's something hopefully that we can resurrect. So please, whether you read my column or not, there was someone who wrote a letter in saying that he looks forward every Sunday to sitting down, taking a cup of coffee, and being aggravated by my column. And for those who are my students, that's sort of like coming to class. And I wanted to focus on some notions in one of my columns that reflect more broadly the ideas that we're talking about today. Stanford had put out, the university, sort of a reader of new terms that should be used. And I will tell you in advance that there was enough hoopla over it that they pulled it and they claimed, oh, we never intended this to be mandatory or anything like that. And all that may be true, it may not, who knows, who cares. The point is that there is this movement to restrict sort of thought and speech in academia. Academia is overwhelmingly left of center, and administrators are even more left of center than academics. Now, I have no problem with having leftists commenting, teaching, etc. Josh is a progressive, and we are very good friends. But I also believe in the need for balance, and that's where I struggle in academia. Too often I hear the claim made, well, not enough conservatives apply to teach. I don't believe that to be true. And perhaps just for entertainment purposes, I'll read you a couple of the entries in the Stanford New Language to English Dictionary, and then I will turn it over to Josh, and we'll work our way down, in fact. Here's one that I found interesting. Stanford says, don't use the term blind review, use anonymous review, because the former unintentionally perpetuates the disability is somehow abnormal or negative, furthering an ableist culture. Well, of course, blind is not a positive. We try to avoid that. Blind review is a positive. So that's the irony. They don't even see when the term is being used in a positive way. And so there's nothing inappropriate about that. There's the one where they say American is unacceptable because we are only one of the countries in the Americas. And while that may have some legitimacy, then they are asked, well, what should you use? U.S. citizen. Well, now you've left out everybody else, right? Resident aliens, undocumented. So inadvertently, when you sort of come up with this make-believe to English dictionary, you're going to step on some landmines. Another one I found interesting was the somewhat esoteric term called white paper. It means a statement paper. It's an old term. And it said, well, you know, it assigns value connotations based on color, white being good, therefore subconsciously racializing. The problem is, that's just made up. The term originated when government papers were coded by color to indicate distribution, with white designated for public access. Where did I find that? In a Stanford white paper. So, you know, we need to be open to discussions, and for my students here, they know I tell them in class, we don't engage in word police. You can make a mistake. You can say a wrong thing, and we're not going to chew your head off for it. Ashlyn, who we'll get to third, was a student at ASU, and she had the temerity to set up a table outside to advertise for a conservative group, Turning Point USA, which is Charlie Kirk's organization, and they gave her the bum's rush. They got rid of her. And they said, you can't set up a table because you're not in a free speech zone. And of course, as I like to say frequently for those of you that know me, I thought America is a free speech zone. She sued, good for her, even before she was a law student. And the courts said that what ASU did was unconstitutional. But because of this notion of qualified immunity, she didn't get any money. Now, she wasn't looking for any money. She was looking to fix the problem. And ASU to this day says what? We prevailed in that lawsuit. So this is the mindset that we need to overcome. Dan Sullivan, senator from Craighead County, was a co-sponsor of the original Free Speech on Campus bill 2 sessions ago. And that bill came directly out of the Hogarth affair. They realized what happened, and they said, we're doing away with free speech zones on campuses. The bill, by design, only dealt with outdoor areas, because you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. The next session, which was the last session, Senator Sullivan introduced a bill to move the freedoms indoors, again, only the common areas, inside buildings. Because after all, this is Arkansas, and while it's in the South, the winter's still cold. So we would think you'd still want some free speech in the wintertime. That bill failed, largely due to one senator on the Education Committee who was replaced due to a conservative primarying him and beating him. He's reintroduced that bill with some small tweaks, but essentially that bill, this session, we talked about it in the Education Committee. It was a somewhat chilly reception from conservative and liberal alike, and we've made some, he has made some tweaks to the bill. He's asked my input, so that's why I say we. My name's not up there, I don't get to say we. He's made some tweaks to the bill, and let's see whether the other senators on that committee, when the bill comes back before them, want to act like Sturch and maybe will be Sturched thereafter, or they want to act like strong conservatives. So we'll see. So that's the topic of the day, and I want to turn it over first to Josh Silverstein, 1, because he's sitting to my right, 2, because he has to leave at 7 sharply, 3, we give all priority to academics. So with that said, Josh, please.